Hello everyone, welcome to the last GSL qualifier that I will be casting. We're going to see if either Bunny or Creator make it through into the GSL, which is starting in approximately 2 weeks, which by the way is apparently going to be on the new patch, so that's going to be fun. In the top left, we have Bunny. And in the bottom right, we have Creator. Those of you not in the know, the current patch is not well received by basically anyone. And the only valid thing about it is, well, hey, at least it changed something, which... yeah, I'm not here to go over that again. There's a talk show that I did. There's my streams you could go to. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can find out. That's why people don't like this potential patch. But we are on the patch that you're all familiar with. It's actually rather good, except for a slight issue with the Protoss not being able to win anything. The Protoss do still pretty consistently make it into the round of 32s, the round of 16s, but then they start to struggle when it comes to the round of 8, and there hasn't been a victor in a very long time as far as those prestigious big tournaments. So Creator's actually been a little vocal about this. Creator actually has some very passionate opinions, which is good on him, honestly. More power to him. A lot of the Protosses, I would say, have actually gotten so just used to keeping their head down over the last 13 years of being a very, you know, kind of overall, like, easily disliked race, I suppose, because of the cheeses and the proxies. Yeah. That Creator's sometimes, I feel like, the only one who's actually saying something, and he has acknowledged how difficult it is to face Terran in particular, right? So PvZ has its own issues, perhaps, but really the main thing is the TvP, especially after that Raven change in our patch earlier this year that hit before Katowice. So Creator has been doing his best, and he has actually been doing some really cool things. And honestly, there's a couple of games I can think of where he faces either Terran or Zerg, but let's stick on topic with a Terran, where he actually probably should win, and then maybe mishandles it a little bit, or he probably shouldn't win, and he almost brings it back. So there's definitely still hope here, but we kind of don't have a Protoss that is linking everything together start to finish, and actually getting those wins start to finish in a game, in a series, and in a tournament. But Creator, certainly a hopeful to get into GSL as far as Protoss go. I believe both of these guys have another chance to make it to the GSL, even if they lose here, by the way. But yeah, we're going to get a proxy coming down, so definitely want to talk about that. Creator did open up with a Zealot that has already raced across the map and is already trying to get some harassment done. Bunny, with the typical 1-Rax expand, has gotten a bunker and a Marine with that gas second, and his factory is done, now building that tech lab with the starport soon to come down. It looks like he will be using that tech lab on the factory, and yeah, to actually get like a cyclone and do something, maybe still early game, but not a Wood of Mine drop. So Bunny has yet to get any scouting because he's had to deal with the Zealot that ran across the map. He has had to keep his Reaper at home. Now he knows that this could actually be about something. This could be a whole, you know, just like, look over here while I do something really aggressive. So he is sending that Reaper almost to the far left to scout this proxy gateway, but the keyword is almost. The Adepts on the chase should have a decent chance to kill this thing. Wow. Oh, barely before the regen actually kicked in. And that is kind of important, obviously, because the Reaper can no longer get into the main base and say, hey, there's no technology, or rather the technology is very late, there must be a proxy gateway, nor can it actually double back and scout that particular area. So Bunny actually has no idea that this is on the way. That doesn't mean he can't defend it, because he did opt for a rather secure opener with that Cyclone, as opposed to the Wood of Mine, which is one and done. He should be able to actually combine his forces and push back what is going to be a lot of Adepts. And that is sometimes, you know, different depending on the choices made from the Protoss player that can even start to aggress with a decent amount of Stalkers, but in this case, Creator went for the Adepts. So far, not so good in the actual kills, losing 2 Adepts for only 2 SCVs, and that Reaper kill. Again, they don't play this with the mod, so those pop-ups aren't going to pop up. But yeah, it's not very many kills, and Bunny even gets to continue with his harassment because he did grab a medevac. He just didn't go for a Wood of Mine drop. So he gets to continue his harassment, now with the guarantee that he will not be blinked upon, because if this is going to follow up to blink, which it usually does, it's not going to be done. Whereas a Twilight Council first and foremost, you know, Gateway, 7x4 Nexus, and then Twilight Council would actually have Blink finishing around this time, basically exactly at this time. So that's something that he can work with, even though the damage might not still be there. The presence of the Medivac is still something to consider. And Creator will have to, of course, keep his units at home and then make sure they're properly positioned, lest he actually lose a Stalker or two, because Cyclone Lock-On is pretty good. Exactly as evidence here, so it couldn't have been more well-timed right there. Unfortunately, loses one of the Stalkers, an expensive unit in the early game. Another one going to get locked onto just at the last possible second, but not actually killed. And the Medivac will have to pick up all of its units as the rest of the Protoss army came forth. Still a lot of presence that Bunny has over the map if the Medivac's still hanging around. Probably not for very much longer, as he knows Blink should be finishing in the next 20 seconds. Around that time, and indeed we can see that. Not ESL Pro Tour, by the way, but GSL. And the Stalkers are actually, they're trying to go ahead and hunt down the Medivac. Unsuccessful, but a pretty good attempt from Creator, all things considered. I guess if all 4 or 5 Stalkers were in the main base, one of them wouldn't have died, to be fair, but yeah, still. It was a good attempt to try and even nip this in the bud. Oh, nice pickup there from Bunny. Almost made it look like a Warp Prism. Oh, but Creator finally getting to chase this down. Finally catches the rabbit. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, but that all of that was just not presence for Creator on Bunny's side of the map, you know? And while Bunny absolutely wanted to keep that Medivac and Cyclone alive for the future, that was still some, I would say, decent counter damage, counter indirect damage for the most part. But Creator's really on the map, man. He's even looking for a possible follow-up with the auto turret, which is very common nowadays. Raven's something that you can afford so easily. And it's such a fast-building unit since that patch back in January that, yeah, you almost always get it. The follow-up to a lot of Protoss builds, no matter what they start off with, is generally a very old, dependable Colossus as well that also can go for a bit of a counterattack. But while that might be more often than Storm, we have seen more Storm make it into this matchup, and a lot because, I mean, it plays out differently versus the Raven mechanic, and then it also can play out differently just as far as the whole game goes. Now, the problem is that it might have its power spike come and go before you know it, which is that the Bunny will be able to push forward like this. Creator might just barely get the Storm in time to hold on, but then Bunny's on 3cc and a Ghost Academy on the way, and EMP is so devastatingly powerful versus Storm Charge Lot, which is what Creator is going to be depending on for the foreseeable future. So Creator, you know, he's not going to have to worry about the interference magic so much, but an anti-armor missile still could be very effective. 4 Widow Mines littering the area with a tank anchoring this push is just absolutely wonderful. Good dodge on the 2 Widow Mines there, taking 2 of them out of the equation. But Bunny's even continuing to rally. He's going to grab this Admin X-Core as well as the Gateway. Very painful, but something that Protoss have to kind of get used to when they do for that go for that wall off. Unfortunately, Creator not very quick to replacing this Admin X-Core. Is going to have a long time before he can replace his Stalkers. That's a little worrisome. His charge is not yet done either, but it is finishing up. But where are the charge lots? Bunny does know about that Storm, and as such is being very careful about pushing into it. Whoa! He tried to warp in High Templars, so I guess he pressed T, and T is Storm, so, right? I'm not making that up. That's got to be the misclick, right? I'm not making this up. One of those things where I absolutely would remember if I was playing the game, but like actually just watching and I'm like, hold on. Anyway, so we do have a couple of Zealots running. Didn't run in quite yet, but they can run in and cause a distraction, something that Creator might very well need. He has managed to get to a double Robo, but he's currently pumping out Immortals, not Colossus, which they are helpful. I'm not going to knock on the Immortal. He tries his best, but it's not the same as having that AoE. 3rd CC is now planted for Bunny. Those Zealots did finally appear, and they are not being cleaned up all that quickly, but it's also not that big of a presence, so Bunny is still able to focus on his attack, and more specifically on the triple drop into the main base. Shield Guard Overcharge, not going to last a very long time. However, Storm is coming in here and is blanketing most of the Terran army. It's got to skedaddle. However, the lack of Stalkers here in the main base means the Medivac will be able to survive. 12 Stalkers overall, and the 7X core having been rebuilt means that loss and the delay on the rebuilding actually did not cost Creator very much. It manages to handle the scenario with the zoning power of Storm prior to EMPs being out. Now, speaking of, 3 Ghosts are finally on the field, and Creator's time to be lording the technology over the Terran is quickly coming to an end. But really, Creator has played really well under pressure. being able to hold on with limited amount of units and then also grab a 4th base and double robo at the same time, a lot of people would have screwed up by now. So the lack of robotic space is still concerning, but we'll see what these Immortals can do. First EMP, I think, kind of whiffed. I don't actually think that hit anything. But this EMP is going to go after the Immortals, popping their shield, making them already so much less effective. Shield battery is there to repair some of the actual shields, not the shield. So that's good. And a shield battery over on the 3rd base as well. Ever that drop came back in once it realized most of the army was out of position. It is an injured drop, but it is getting healed back up. Crater quick to respond. Another storm is actually going to do wonders. A little more on the medevacs than on the bio, but hey, that was on purpose, and it works out wonderfully. Oh no! Then he storms his own probes, which is a little less wonderful, but there's only like 6 of them, 4 unfortunate souls. Immortal number 1 will go down despite the overcharge pop, and now that is an overcharge gone from what could potentially be the actual fight upcoming. Also, Bunny just constantly out on the map, having nothing to worry about back at home, is going to go after that 4th base. Not going to actually do a whole lot of damage. It's actually kind of a ragtag group of bio. 1 ghost and a handful of bio that exceeds the capacity of that lone medevac. Not the best push out, but he is going to regroup. Possibly more medevacs on the way. I don't know what this 1 Viking was for. I guess he thought there was a warp prism. Oh, it's actually probably for the not just offensive harassment warp prism, but the anticipated ferrying warp prism, which Crater has not gotten. It's surprising. Something that you would consider integral to this style of composition, especially once EMPs are out, but already a couple of storms hitting the bio army. Is Stim going to injure him more? And now we have Bunny just racing into the natural. Very bold move indeed. If there are storms on the high ground, he could be in trouble, but I'm not seeing him currently. Robo under fire, shield battery overcharge popped, rest of reinforcements taken care of, and Bunny is going all in on the main base. The medevacs could pick up before the stalkers blink forward, and it looks like they will. One of them does go down. Overall, not a worthwhile endeavor for the Terran, in my opinion. What did it really get? It got maybe a handful of units, but not even really a lot of important ones, I want to say. You know, very few High Templars have died in this game. That doesn't make any sense. I guess, well, you know what? It does. I guess if he's been able to turn literally every single one that was made for Storm into an Archon, that's really good High Templar retention. Damn. But he also got a Robo and then had a Skedaddle. That really was not an effective use of Bunny's supply. That said, he is able to regroup and resupply and stay at a level supply compared to the Protoss, and arguably still has that power spike, right? He still has EMPs, which are really, really, really effective against someone who doesn't have that secondary form of area of effects. He's got Storm. He doesn't have Disruptors. He doesn't have Colossus, and he's actually not making a move towards it. Warp Prism finally in play, however, is a little bit better, but it can only do so much. A couple of Liberators join in on the battle, too, and that is something that I don't think Creator was anticipating. Now he's in a worse area to try and take the fight. Maybe he could try and get some sort of surround and backstab those Liberators, but the rest of the ground army is pretty damn good, and it's been having an upgrade advantage for some time. Now that is about to dissipate as +2 is almost finished for Creator, but almost is the key word. Now here comes in the surround. It might still be good enough. High Templar is trying to be EMP'd, but he misses, and that Storm is still pretty freaking good. But the EMP on top of the Immortals also doing a tremendous amount of damage. The Medivac's healing through much of the Storm. A lot of the bio in the red, but still alive. Can they actually make the stand? Oh my goodness, so many Archons just popped after they got EMP'd, and they hit those Widow Mines. That was unfortunate for Creator, who lost a lot of the frontline buffer. Don't forget that some of those Immortals do not have their Hardened Shield as well, but he sees an opportunity. He's going to go for the counter-offensive, and this might actually be the Protoss's moment. But once again, a couple of Widow Mines really being a pain in Creator's side. 2 of them going to pop off on the main army. Oh no! I think Creator thought the Zealots would tank it, but Bunny must have actually microed them. That is so much damage on top of the Protoss army. Some of the Immortals do get back their shield, but it's quickly gone. SCV's getting pulled in. Liberator getting a couple of shots. Can Bunny actually make the hold? One bunker trying to help out, but the Immortals tear through it. The Warp Prism getting attacked by the Widow Mines, but these don't actually recharge in time. However, it looks like the bio with +2/1 has actually prevailed. Warp Prism goes down. Zealots, Immortals, and most of the Stalkers fall, and Bunny makes a very last-second hold. I do not blame Creator whatsoever for going for the counterattack. That would have been a fantastic idea and probably even game-ending if it wasn't for those Widow Mines. I mean, literally the presence of them, the fact that they got such a wonderful splash in the heart of the Protoss army obviously made a huge deal. But just the presence of the Widowmines was really I think, the persistent problem, and continues to be, for Creator. Oh my good lord, that was actually so close. That was such a tight battle. Bunny, not actually in too bad of economic way after pulling the SCVs, has lost 24 SCVs overall, but he has a 4th base, and it seems like he's comfortable on 52. He still has this army that is ultimately very good, and seeing as on a counterattack, there aren't any better Protoss units, such as, I'm thinking primarily Colossus, to be honest. It should really put Bunny at ease. Now that precarious moment is done, now he should know that he's back in full control. Creator gave away a still expensive army considering Protoss, right? Even though it wasn't Colossus and Disruptors. Widowmines. Oh, God, no. Creator's gonna hate Widowmines after this game. Oh, jeez. Oh, the lack of Observer. There's been one this entire game? No, I'm totally wrong about that. Sorry, Creator. No, he made 5 in this game, but they've all died, I guess, to Splash. Oh, that is kind of heartbreaking. He tried to ride the wave, and he was so close to succeeding. Ends up tumbling out, though. And now I think Bunny is just minutes and seconds away from winning. It's a very unhealthy army right now, as the medevacs are, a lot of them, out of juice, and it's becoming even more increasingly mainly ghosts, which, you know, only ghosts is not much of a fighting army, but yeah, everything combined together, and of course the EMP is still hating a lot of these units. The Warp Prism once again goes down to the Widowmines. Oh, yeah, as I said, seconds away from Creator having to tap out. Such a hard-fought game. Really quite cool control over the situation, considering how desperate things have been for Creator at times. And once again, seeing an opportunity to counterattack, but I just don't think it's there as much as it was before. Yeah, no, it's not. Oh, boy. That's sometimes Creator, though. Flashes of brilliance in tournaments, games, and series, but never connecting them all together. Creator still doesn't really have a backup plan either. Still in one robo, too. Never rebuilt the second one. He never got up to the robotics bay, which... Man, I'm wondering, you know? You made up to 12 Immortals in this game. Woo! Make that 6 Immortals and 6 Colossus. Well, 6 Immortals and 4 Colossus. Whatever you want to call it. Like, I think that would have been... I think it would have been closer. Obviously, a lot of things change with that. The resource investment and the way that you can maneuver and all that good stuff. But if he had been able to barely crank out 1 or 2 Colossus while he did take this almost game-winning fight over here, I think the last minute and a half is a lot steadier for the Protoss. That said, Creator once again impressing me by keeping things steady-ish. Still down in supply and still in a bad scenario, but, you know, he actually hang on there, and Bunny was probably thinking, God, just die already. But now 2-2 is done. Bunny once again with the upgrade lead, and now a more complete army, kind of hitting that critical mass, and the medevacs, all of them with juice once again, as long as he gets those EMPs on top of the storms. Again, the only form of AoE that Creator has, which he misses. One storm does go off, then Bunny does have this game. But man, oh man, Creator really making Bunny work for it. It's going to come in here with kind of a partial surround. Warp Prism barely alive. Archon might join in on the fight. Rest of the Archons are coming in. EMP is getting thrown down every which way, however, but not on top of the DTs, which are now starting to slice and dice all of the Bio Army. And hold on here, Bunny going to get punished for once again entering into Creator's natural. Suddenly the supply is much, much closer. Both of them on the original 4 bases as well, so all of them are actually messing up on the minerals. Main base should be lifted soon for Bunny. Creator, unfortunately not Terran. Can't do the same thing. Really does need a 5th base. Is he able to ever afford it? He's going to go for this one? Long distance mining currently. Long distance mining is not a good sign. Oof, this game is not yet over, but I would still say overall it drastically favors the Terran. The DTs came in clutch. They are going to try and go for harassment. Unfortunately, that planetary is rather locked up. You'd have to have a good 7 or 8 DTs jumping on top of it to actually break it. Orbital command's going to be a little bit easier, of course, and good stalker usage. Stalkers can be a real miracle worker in some of these lower econ scenarios because they are so microable and great at taking the map control control, catching the Terran off guard when they think that they had taken back the map. Unfortunately, some missed micro goes down as Creator's AI splits it. Another base also was scouted there. Not a good sign for Creator. I didn't even realize Bunny had been able to fit in a 5th base. That's kind of heartbreaking for Creator, because if there wasn't, and it was a orbital that was clearly from the main moving on over, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope for the amount that you can pull apart a Terran who's dependent on orbitals. But a planetary on both sides of the map, that might be the nail in the coffin, actually. And it's actually very good that Creator's going to go ahead and try and stop this from ever becoming a planetary, but he's got to be careful. The Bio Army coming on the backside with those EMPs pops the Archons like balloons. Immortal also going down. Storms on the backside, however, do hit a lot of the Terran army. Is it going to be enough? Only Stalkers remain, and we know what happens at that point. Unupgraded Stalkers, under-upgraded, I should say, against upgraded Bio. I mean, hell, even if the Stalkers had 3-3 the 2-2, the Stalkers aren't supposed to win this battle. It looks like it's close, but I don't think it actually is. Creator warping into a losing battle. Immortal getting rallied in as well. The SCVs are crucial to this hold, so it is kind of close, but the point is Bunny had them to use. So they were messing up a lot of the shots, and with the type of army that Creator's working with, the Stalkers and Immortals, every shot really counts. It's not, again, the AoE. One Colossus burns through those SCVs, lickety split, and then they're kind of a waste. But in those battles, extremely important, extremely vital members of the army, the militia really popping off for that particular hold. 21 minutes in, and Creator refuses to give up, but seeing as that 5th base is now a planetary with a missile turret, you know, the only thing he could do to harass is try and go up the gut of the map, which just seems so unlikely when he still has to defend his really only mining base at this point, and it's hardly mining. Like, never mind. 4 probes truly mining on one base, 8 on another. Main and natural of Creator completely mined out. Oh, just kidding. He's got 130 minerals in his natural. We have a Widow Mine looking around, making sure that he's not missing any Nexus, and now it's going to burrow up on a potential Nexus of Creator, but I think he might have been able to afford a 5th base 2 minutes ago. He was banking about 500 minerals. At this point in time, no way, Jose. He's going to have to go for the all-in. Storms do hit, but so do the EMPs, and the Storms not actually killing those Marines means that Creator will tap out. Oof. Creator making very good use of an army that really is supposed to be kind of done and gone with its power spike. I mean, this guy can be so impressive, but not able to actually go over that finish line is the real problem. And of course, I do want to give credit to Bunny, who also is playing a very tight game. But I'm going to admit, I was more impressed by the Protoss there, holding on. But Bunny, very good TvP here, and certainly on form here for this GSL qualifier. Wins game number 1. Let's see if Creator can bring it back. In the top left of game 2, it is MYG's Bunny. That is Mystery Gaming. And in the bottom right, we do have Team NV's Creator. Haven't seen the uniform yet for MYG, I feel like, but I always thought the NV jersey was quite clean. I like it. Not important. More important is that Creator put up one hell of a fight, and you can just see the fighting spirit that he has. We know Creator is a very passionate guy. He does knock down tables and slam his fists and yell when he's winning, even, not only when he's losing. He's managed to rein it in a little bit, since I would say the last time I really saw it was Katowice in some heartbreaking games versus Dark, because it was just, it felt like it was 2 pro gamers at the end of a 48-hour MLG marathon rather than 2 pros at the top of their game. And it was a later match in Katowice, to be clear. Like, they probably were a little tired, but it was so scrappy. It was forced and unforced errors abound. And yet Creator still got so close. It was like something propelled Dark forward, a magical hand from above to ensure that he once again made it to, I believe, the round of 8, since he so consistently does so. Dark, one of the, if not the most consistent Katowice players. Creator, not so much, unfortunately. But yeah, he seems to have reined it in a little bit. Like, everyone's been kind of waiting on the edge of their seat. Like, oh, is he gonna rage? Come on. Because we like seeing emotions from our players since we've had 13 years of it being so rare. But he's not really done it so much. But I gotta say, if there's one thing to be angry at for that last game, it is freaking Widow Mines. I'm not actually on the side of let's complain about Widow Mines all the time, even as I do play Protoss about half or even over half of the time I play StarCraft 2. The amount of games that I've lost 20 probes to a Widow Mine, but then killed the poor guy with 2 DTs, you know, it's all fair. But I would get really angry at Widow Mines if I was the player in the last game. They royally screwed Creator over. From start to finish on his progression defending his base to attacking into Bunny's third, the Widow Mine was the consistent problem. Otherwise, he might have won. He might have. Hell, if the Zealots actually tanked the Widow Mines as you would want them to, if the Terran didn't micro, he might have won. But, whew. Anyway. Creator really does have the fighting spirit, so it would be all too easy to say because he wears his heart on his sleeve occasionally, and he does acknowledge the difficulty of this matchup, that he would now be deflated and he would give up. But I don't think he's ever really done that. So I have faith in him to bring it back here and potentially still get into GSL in an easier way. Again, I believe both of them have at least one more chance to make it into GSL, if not 2, because there are 2 rounds and both are double elimination. But I've lost track of, you know, where we're at here. And I don't want to spoil either, so. I know some people ask for the bracket, but unfortunately it's hard to find the unfulfilled bracket anywhere online. So what are the players actually doing? I've been talking a lot about not the game. Bunny has once again opted for a fast expand after that gas, of course, and then the bunker for safety. Creator not going to go for that fast zealot into proxy gateway, which didn't work out, by the way, last game, you know? And that's why I gave a little more credit to Bunny's counter Medivac Cyclone drop, which didn't do a lot of direct damage, but considering that Creator also didn't with his opener, and his opener hit his economy a little bit faster, you see where I'm going. I thought that Bunny's counter offensive was still something to consider for the guy who just kind of failed on his opening. Now Creator is still going to go for something aggressive in game 2, but it's not going to be the proxy gate into Adept. It's going to be a 4 gate, which I gotta say, not seen all that often unless you watch Max Packs all the time. But obviously Protoss do still have that in their back pocket. So bringing it out here in game number 2, having some confidence on this map against Bunny with it. There is a lot of space to play around, and there is a chance that Bunny doesn't necessarily think about it first and foremost. However, he should be scouting as any good Terran would do. And he does see the Warp Prism head on over. He saw Robo. He presumes Twilight Council at this point. Not much information, but I think the Warp Prism is enough. Oh, and a medevac drop. Well, now he knows. The Widow Mines gonna get a stalker is pretty nice, and 2 probes, and the medevac lives. Overall, I would say what the Terran wants is success, basically. And medevac is gonna try and get home without being intercepted, because that is the usual next problem. So Bunny, as soon as he saw the Warp Prism, really should have figured that out. He was already building tanks. I believe last game he did go, you know, Cyclone then tank, right? So he was still aware of the possibility, but soon discovered it wasn't happening. In this case, if he had gone for like Hellion, Widow Mine Cyclone, he would have had so much time invested into things that aren't helpful for a 4 gate right here, right now. Tank absolutely necessary. Second tank would be lovely, but it's not out yet. That's probably gonna come out though. Warp Prism takes a very cautious stance into warping into the main base, using just the wide main base to abuse the stalker range. But the tanks will siege up to protect the guts, if you will, of the base, and as such, Creator will not find any snowball opportunity. And I would say that this is, you know, we could directly compare this to Max Packs and really get into the nitty-gritty as to why Max Packs is so well regarded for being the best 4-gate player in the world, but we'll do that at a later time. The point is, Creator has chosen this particular approach, and like I said, it really stops the snowball. This one tank does not get mass repaired. It looks like Bunny didn't really consider it, kind of was half repairing, but it did get a couple of shots off before it died, and another tank is here. Now, that's a very offensive position, and while it does have a backup buddy here, that might have been a little too offensive, or maybe not. That one tank did get a lot of shots. Bunker was firing away. Marines came back, and auto turrets got their DPS before they actually were extinguished. So Creator did just lose 10 stalkers. So that bait that Bunny was hoping for did work out. I didn't think he wasn't baiting. It's not that I was like, oh, Bunny, how silly of you. It's just that I wondered if the bait was going to be worth it. Because it might still not be. The point is now he still doesn't have any tanks, only Marines without stim, although they're very close to having it. And despite so many stalkers trading out, the point is that there's still more than 4 at a time. You know, if there's only 4 stalkers, then who the hell cares? But if there's still 15 before you know it and you don't have any tanks, you could still be in a lot of trouble. So actually, I might have been right. Maybe that bait wasn't worth it. Bunny now regretting perhaps not having any tanks, but once again, a little bit too far forward. Want to go after the Raven, thus entering into the stimmed Marine DPS, and once again an auto turret that did cost a couple of stalkers' lives as well as a lot of health. The Creator is not stopping here. He does have a third Nexus, which, by the way, is under harassment, but he is warped in continuously. Very little dedication elsewhere on the game. Charges on the way, a couple extra gateways, but still a decent amount of stalkers. Warp Prism still very healthy, and those Marines, can't say the same thing for them. They have been stimmed a couple of times, and the stalkers once again going a little too bold. I mean, both of them playing some bold StarCraft, shall we say. We'll put it that way, and perhaps we shouldn't expect anything differently. Bunny's always been a very courageous, brave Terran, and Creator certainly has made some difficult, risky decisions as a Protoss player, and it seems that in this game, they both have done something that we could expect from them, and the question is, who got rewarded the most for it? If Creator was not on the third base, then 100% it's Bunny who wins, but Creator did save his third base and was building up some amount of probes to at least saturate his third base on the minerals. Now, he's only going to be working on unupgraded Blink Charge for a while yet, as the Robotics Bay is not even halfway done, but an excellent catch on the Medivac drop is going to cost him a couple stalkers as he runs away from the north. Collects the lives on the south, but he did catch the Medivac, no longer having to worry about that staying in the corner over here, for instance, and he's gonna catch another one! Oh, Bunny! Presumed, understandably, the stalkers would go back home. But, yeah, you're going, yeah, what I just said. They both can be sometimes these types of players. Oh, and Creator, he's only on 6 gateways. He's still putting probes, he's still putting double forge, but he is taking in a very offensive stance, and this is something that Bunny just might simply not expect. You know, it's clear that the last 30 seconds has been Bunny not expecting, right? And once again, not expecting. What a mind pops off. But he doesn't know about the Warp Prism warping and all those charge lots. He might get aggressive. A scan somewhere. Third base, actually. Wants to see the gases or if the army's over there. It is not. It is here, man. It is ready to go. Those charge lots are hankering for us around. That one tank is going to help, but not if it gets jumped upon by the Zealots, so the bio kind of has to stand their ground. Fortunately, it can. A couple of Wood Mines added in as well. And it looks like Bunny with the scan and, of course, that potential attack realizes that he's better safe than sorry. He's going to grab a bunker to try and further hold against any very aggressive gateway play. But I must reiterate that it's not really all in on the gateway. It wasn't that many gateways. There was technology on the way behind it. So the opportunity might have been there if Bunny was really careless and just literally chased these stalkers into 20 Zealots waiting for us around. But he didn't. So Creator is going to have to be thankful he was kind of already moving on, because he is at least getting into Colossus. He has some map controls. He didn't just let all the stalkers get obliterated, although many have died in this game, 25 in total. And he has a 4th base on the way as well. So Creator not in a bad spot, but Bunny once again with that upgrade lead, this time 2 upgrade leads for at least another 50 seconds, I want to say. And then he also has just that army supply lead. Economically, he's also fine. With a 9 worker difference, Triple Mule does make up for that. One Colossus is not the best defensive tool. There is a second one somewhere. It looks like Creator is now splitting his army, and probably appropriately, because he has some static defense to go off of. And Bunny had also split his army. Now, if Bunny's entire army that we're witnessing right here collapses in on the 4th base, that's a dead army, 100%, because we have an interference matrix. Even if we didn't, pretty sure. That's dead. So Creator is going to have to make sure he scouts the intentions of the Terran. Is it a split army or is it the whole army? And he's going to realize that it is, in fact, the whole army. So he needs to collect his forces together. Did I lose the second Colossus? I guess that's the one in the natural now. Oh, they went to the main base. He thought it was a drop. Did he use recall? No, but he just moved it. Because he was guessing. He didn't actually have any detection on the field to know if it was a split or not, and Bunny does split. He was prepared to, and then decided, you know what, no, let's actually go for the main fight. But as it is, Creator has that time to regroup himself. His upgrades have also finished, and now it is the time to collapse in the Terran army. This could go very well for the Protoss indeed. Interference magic used on one Colossus and a Warp Prism. I don't think he realized the second Colossus and a third were coming down that backside, and Bunny gets completely surrounded and completely devoured here. The Protoss army on the warpath. This is the time for Creator to go for the counterattack and win this game. He was so close to doing it in game number 1, and I would say 100% he does it in game number 2. That was an impressive surround, and I think it's clear that Bunny just did not realize the full might of the Protoss army and what direction it was coming in from. He's dead, man. He's down 40 supply. He's got that bunker from earlier on. He's going to hold on to that for dear life, but this time around, Wood of Mines will not be saving the day, even as one does go undetected. And the 3 Colossus can continue to just hammer away somewhat for free. There are a couple of Vikings, but no more beyond that. Literally just a couple. Bunker goes down, and Creator is just waiting for the right moment to really push in. I had to use a friendly fire, I believe, for that Wood of Mine there. I do not see an observer on the unit tab, so Wood of Mines are kind of once again saving Bunny's life. Oh, good lord, good lord. Maybe, perhaps. Oh, Wood of Mines were also killing some probes back at home. 21 have gone down in total. Another one's gonna pop off. 3 more go down. That was at least 1 right there. Could we get an observer? You know, we are on still single robo, so I guess not. But can we not lose our lead because of Wood of Mines? We haven't yet, so it's fine, but it just, you know, a little worried. And now this still is an overpowering Protoss army. Even as it is now out upgraded yet again, it just doesn't matter. The Bioforce does not stand up to this, even as it tries to micro back, and Wood of Mines and EMPs are combining for the damage here. The Terran army just cannot hold up long enough. And there you have it. Creator will win game number 2. Basically because of that huge surround. If Bunny had realized that there was a surround like such going underway, he would have evacuated more of his army in time to have a better chance at holding. It still would have been tough because he really did underestimate Creator's position, I think. But yeah, that was a lot to do that. So Creator quickly, compared to the last game, does tie it up to 1-1. Let's see who wins game 3 and actually gets into the GSL. In the top right of Royal Blood, it is MYG's Bunny. In the bottom left, it is Team NV's Creator. One player about to get into the GSL, lickety splits. The other one's going to have to face multiple other fantastic Korean pros and some foreigners as well. In all likelihood, both players do make it through. They are pretty consistent in the GSL, and both players really have been throughout the history, I would say. Yeah. Of course, there's always been a little bit of a trade-off for the GSL. There's been larger GSLs up to the round of 32 instead of just the round of 16. But the amount of players who were necessarily of round of 32 GSL caliber kind of started to disappear for, you know, after a while. So then you had maybe some very unexpected names in the round of 32 because, you know, you just don't have the powerhouse names that were consistent back in 2015 or the like. So Creator and Bunny pretty much got through every time, I would say. And then you got to a smaller GSL, which takes away more spots, which theoretically sounds scarier, but then again, the list of real powerhouse Korean pros also continues to dwindle, unfortunately, with really some of the only reasons the round of 16 is filled out as much as it is because some of the retired or, the people who went to military did come back, which is not a guarantee. It's the unfortunate state of the Korean StarCraft right now. And if you do want to support the remaining members because you love Korean StarCraft and you really want to continue watching GSL, and who doesn't, right? Patreon.com/GSL is your best bet. Give the money directly to the players. And if you want to continue to support overall the Korean scene, there is the Korean StarCraft League Patreon, as well as some Morty Kickstarter and fundraisers. So yeah, I always got to get that spiel in, because it is a unfortunate situation in 2023. But There's always that chance it could get better. Microsoft overlords, please. Be gracious to us. It's always a little bit of a Debbie Downer. So there's no way around it, but definitely go support GSL if you can. So we have the bunker gonna finish. Creator not having the loveliest first 3 minutes of a game he's ever had. However, one good news, or two good news, really. 3 overall, is that 1, pylon in the appropriate position for this. 2, shield battery, as soon as you can really get it. As soon as you figure out you can't stop the bunker. 3, he built a stalker, not an adept. Adept sucks at taking care of the bunker, stalker a little bit better. And altogether, with the shield battery appropriately placed, this does get taken care of rather quickly and rather painlessly. The shield battery cost is worth it, even if they do get the salvage off to save majority of their minerals. This ensures that it's a clean cleanup. And one of the worst things that can happen in a game where the bunker gets up and running is the, oops, I've dropped all my limes, you know? Oh god, oh geez, oh lord, and everything just goes to shit. And while that doesn't happen often to pro gamers, it absolutely can, especially if a pro gamer is susceptible to being tilted. They know they played some really good games, and they got really close, and if they could just get something, oh gosh darn it, there's a bunker in my natural, son of a... Creator doesn't have that happen. Creator deals with that really smoothly. And successfully kills the Reaper as well, which means that if Bunny doesn't have a Hellion, he does, the Scout's not going to come in on what Creator is doing. Now, Bunny does, and most Korean professional Terrans do get that Hellion follow-up, but there's always a chance they don't. In this case, the Hellion will be up and running, and it will go and see that at the very least there are 2 gateways on the front lines. Now, he doesn't know if there's a 4th gateway somewhere. And even if it is only a 3-gate, there is a chance they will still be very intense on trying to kill you. They will warp in continuously. This doesn't look like one of those games, though. We know that. Bunny does not. Bunny's still gonna have to wait a little while to know just how much pressure he's under. Is it a 4-gate? Is it a very offensive 3-gate? Is it just going into double gas and moving on forward on technology? It's the latter. It's the last one, but Bunny can't determine that until he either gets a drop-in or a scan, or Raven or auto-turret harassment, I guess. And the likelihood of a Terran scanning at this point is pretty low. We do try our best not to waste a mule. So it's into the 4 gases. Robotic space should be on the way right now. Wait. Right now? Wait. Soon. Oh, I keep forgetting that Creator actually does go Storm. Ah, silly me. No, it's Templar Archives. So, something that, again, Bunny's gonna have to consider the more that he realizes that this might not be an offensive tactic, but it's also not a fast 3rd base, the more he's gonna have to boil it down to fast technology. And then 50-50 on what technology, pretty much. 3rd Nexus is put down, of course. The thing that is now lacking would be, for instance, upgrades. You gotta pick and choose in StarCraft. Otherwise, it would be a very boring game. But Bunny, still, without that knowledge, might be a little more inclined to believe, as he probably plays Creator very, very often, that this is Storm. An equally good chance at Storm, or even a better chance at Storm. But he nonetheless has prepped an opener more so that deals with a Colossus follow-up better. The Raven is a useful tool no matter the situation. You could certainly argue that, no problem. But it is much better versus Colossus. Much better. Aside from getting the Warp Prism interference matrix with all 4 High Templar in it, which is pretty freaking baller, but that happens very rarely. In fact, what is more likely to happen is that Creator will be looking for the feedback and then take the Raven out of the equation completely. No anti-armor missile or auto turrets. 4 Stalkers were harassing the natural and decide to go back in. They will manage to grab a couple of SCVs and a Marauder there, and 3 to 4 recall out. Now, they weren't able to track this army, but maybe Creator still has a big enough army back. I don't think he does, though. Creator's kind of woefully underprepared for the first push. You know, Bunny really did not worry about the Stalker offensive at all. He didn't build any tanks. He didn't play ultra defensive. He has moved forward as soon as he could. No shield battery for Creator, and Storm only just now finished, but holy smokes! The Storms are good. Bunny realizing, oh, well, the Warp Prism just went down. Whoopsie dipsy. I think Bunny was like, oh man, there's no shield battery and the High Templar aren't around and I can get after this. But he did perhaps overextend, allowing his army to bulk up even further to get splashed by those storms, which were integral to Creator's defense. He was also able to chase down at least one medevac, I believe. But the War Prism going down means that once again, the High Templars are a little vulnerable. But with no EMPs, they're not, you know, directly vulnerable, if you will. 2 High Templars in the main base, 3 seconds away from Storm, 2, 1. They're being focus fired. Okay, they got the Storm. They definitely got to use it, and they will be able to capture a lot of units right there. Look at the blood pile, and the Stalkers offensively blink once again. Bunny wasting a lot of supply. Again, going after the main base of Creator just does not seem to be the ticket, even though he won that first game. It was kind of the most questionable part of the game. Oh, and Creator's gonna go for a gold base 4th. Not too common. If this was the first 5 minutes of a TvP where you're facing Hero, I'd say most Terran players at this point in time check that gold base. But I don't know, minute 11 against Creator. I think Bunny's gonna have bigger things to worry about. You know, a counterattack when you don't have EMPs and they might have Storm is one thing to worry about, for instance, right now. Now it's clear as he scans ahead that that's not happening, so he can go, oh, okay, I'm gonna have EMP and this is no problem. But he's not gonna be out in the field kind of detecting, okay, where's the 4th base, what's happening here for a little while yet. So that gold base might actually get to some serious mining. Creator this time around is not just going double robo, but rather also robotics bay. I'm really happy to see that. I understand that there was a method, there was a reason, there was a style that was being played in the first game, but I really think if at some point he had managed to scrounge up enough time and money to get into Colossus, not an additional 6 Immortals, that I think it would have been better. Yeah. But we have seen a couple of Hero games, again, for instance, where he has made Mass Gateway Storm Immortal work, but they're very complicated, I suppose, is the easiest way to kind of boil it down. Whereas this is a little more of that typical ebb and flow of TvP. Your AoE has been countered fairly effectively. MP's a direct counter to Storm. So you're looking for another thing that the Terran has to counter. So Colossus, which then they might get Vikings. And then the other thing you can get that doesn't have a direct counter is, of course, Disruptors, if the game goes so far. Stalkers do manage to escape. Only one of them dies after being EMP'd. Bunny, once again, taking some map control, but Creator really good about spreading out some Zealots. Now, these are expensive spotters. Don't forget, they're not like Zerglings, but it's definitely better than not, because one of the things that could have gone wrong in the last game or the first game, I forget, was whether or not it was a bulked up army. Yeah, last game. Bulked up army or a split army. I love the High Templars littered around the field, but sometimes it is worse. You saw there, one almost full energy High Templar getting taken down. Bunny going to be wary of this tactic, constantly checking forward with a couple of Marauders. A couple of Zealots can interfere with the momentum of a Terran player, so it's pretty much always worth it to do this, even if they don't kill a single SCV, I would argue. Especially as Creator is successfully on 5 bases. Gold base is mining, as well as a would-be 4th, actually a 5th. So absolutely, at this point, you would be throwing Zealots in just to see if you could knock that Terran for a loop, get them back on the defensive, and then take your own map control as you build up to those Disruptors. This is definitely a typical TvP at this point. One in which Creator should be building up the Disruptor count more than the Immortals, but he is doing his thing. We'll see what happens there, and then you can take map control with it. The problem with Immortals is that while they do pack a punch, they sometimes waste shots on Marines, they do get EMP'd and are less effective, and they don't have area effect. I mean, doi. They also don't really have anything else to consider. They're a very, like, one-dimensional unit. They either attack or they don't, where the Disruptor not only has an attack that could kill you or not, it's an attack that even if it doesn't kill any units, you have to consider. You have to be prepared to run away or split or, yeah, both, right? And so that gives an evacuation option to the Protoss. Immortals just don't do that. So the Immortals can sometimes make a bold Terran, one that gets a concave and thinks I can take this fight. It sometimes makes them incorrect, but I don't know. Even upgrades, EMP starts the fight. One Disruptor not going to find any damage, and that is one of 2 Disruptors. Second one in the natural. EMP is continuing to blanket the Protoss army. Storm does hit a lot of the Terran, however. Lots of orange right there, orange and yellow. Also hit some of the Vikings, too. And it looks like Creator was very patient You know, that was not all of his army in that fight. He had this one in the back ready to go at any moment, but decided still not to pull that trigger and just rely on the shield bounty overcharge to regain his health. It's not going to be available once again, so at some point in time, Creator is going to have to kind of collapse in. He's been trying to throw out Zealots once more, which so far have been deflected. This time around might actually do some damage. Second Disruptor not even able to clear up the Widow Mines? There's an observer somewhere, and I'm just blind. We'll figure that one out later. But this time around, Creator's not going to have the same woes against Widow Mines. Oh, the armory's not done. Oh, I just assumed. That took me a second. No, there's no armory. There's no 2-2 on the way. Creator actually has 2-1, working on 2-2. A storm just hit the heart of Bunny's army, and while the Protoss army has been crowded on the right side, Creator still has the left side army. He's not actually pushing, though. He is showing such trigger discipline, I swear. Zealots and DTs, by the way, just killed Bunny's economy, and now Bunny is entirely all in. He's been trying to kill this army on the right side this entire time and remain unsuccessful. Creator really shaping that Terran like putty, man. That was some impressive stuff. Now, he was getting away with a gold base that entire time. Bunny's read on the situation was entirely incorrect. So that is a major component to game number 3. But nonetheless, the way those armies before Bunny just lost everything could match up, could absolutely favor the Terran player. But Creator just kept on reading the situation really, really well. And holding on and holding on and holding on and, you know, putting a lot of his reinforcements into run-bys, which sometimes ends up killing you. But it was totally correct. Really well played there from Creator. Takes down Bunny to get into the GSL. Bunny will have to try again in the lower bracket, I believe, of this round. In which I would believe he does get through. But we'll see about that. So that's it. That's the last GSL qualifier, guys, that I am going to cast. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I will be casting the main event as well, as you can see on the previous videos of this channel. So if you want to watch that, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be back with more StarCraft from other tournaments, such as KSL and Wardy replays and whatever I can get my hands on. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.